brothers on the rise now. Endless celebrations all in my house. Levitating now, I'm super duper fly now. London boy, but DC where I reside now. Put the time in while you always yelling time out. And for quit it, cause I know I'm coming with it. You were sitting, you were wishing I was handling my business. Now I got the ball like Harry Potter playing Quidditch. And my business is humongous, you would think that happens in it. Oh man, I'm all that, yeah, I'm all that. Looking for that whip, yeah, that what you call that. I'ma blow up in the summer, have him yelling fall back. And I've always been ahead like an effing ball cap. Man, I came in the game like, whoa. Got a couple chains on me cause I like gold. They told me I'm the best and I told them I know. Cause when I'm in your town, every ticket I sold. Yeah, they saying I'm the man. Facts, bro. Facts, lot of haters. Tell me where they at though. I'm the new pop, all I do is rap though. Want me on your song, throw a couple stacks, yo. Woo! Everybody wanna do the same thing. Yup, that's why we ain't on the same page. No, do my own thing and I maintain. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah, I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah. I'm going mainstream. Damn. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. So I'm going mainstream.
And we are live. Hello, welcome back to the show. We got an amazing show for you this week with some amazing guests and some returning guests and some really interesting topics to get into this week. So without further ado, let's get into introductions. I don't think I need to introduce Mr. Boom. He's known throughout the industry. He's got podcasts or four. G'day, Mr. Boom. How you doing, man? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? How's everything going this week?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me, guys. This is awesome. I'm doing exactly what you're doing on the screen. I am recording video left and right. I am almost 70 hours into Elden Ring. Game of the year, game of the generation. Probably the best game I've played in a decade. I have not been this enthralled with a game since Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I put 40 days into. And I could see me putting 200 hours into this game, no problem. And honestly, it's so good that you can do that. I mean, like at 70 hours, I haven't even scratched the surface of this game. So, yeah, I know people are sick and tired of hearing about Elden Ring, but man, those numbers though, can't argue. This might have cracked mainstream.
Oh yeah, this is an amazing game. You can see I've been playing it all week. If I'm not working around the house or looking after the baby, I'm playing Elden Ring. And if I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. And again, Mr. Bushido, welcome back to the show. It's always great to have you here, man. What have you been up to? What have you been playing? Oh, yeah, Mike's. There you go. You're back.
You get me now? Okay. I just been trying to clear out this backlog. Appreciate you guys having me back. Yeah, that's really it. I just finished Quantum Break, and it was like 80% done. And I was like, let me just go ahead and finish this game. I have to admit, I kind of changed my views on the game. I thought it was mid is actually a lot better than I thought it was. So I had to post apology to Remedy on that one. The game's actually pretty good. I'm surprised. And just finishing out other games before I get to Elden Ring. If I get to Elden Ring now, I'm never going to finish these other games. I'm just going to move on to something else. So I'm still trying to finish out 2 games and that I could jump in.
What are you trying to finish out before you get to Elden Ring?
It is Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Great game.
And I forgot what the other one is now. Now you put me on the spot. Thanks a lot. But those, I know there was Sekiro. I'm on the last boss, and I just keep fooling around. I just got to finish it. That's all.
Yeah, wow. If you like Sekiro, then you're gonna love Elden Ring. You're gonna love Elden Ring. And
I love Sekiro.
Yeah, and Ori was an extremely underrated game, criminally underrated.
Absolutely,
in my opinion. And as always, returning, we've got JediKnightPete and Umbra. Jedi, what have you been up to this week, man?
Yeah, g'day guys. Welcome to the show, Xbox Infinite. Welcome everyone in the chat. Thank you coming back, Mr. Bushido, and it's great to have Boom here. He's been in the industry, forever. We have all seen his podcasts. I think Umbra put it perfectly. He said that I had the Scarlet Rot, and that is because I am addicted to Elden Ring, and if I wouldn't be doing this show, I would be playing that. And I said the same thing last week, and I'll probably say the same thing next week. That just tells you how big this game is. Zorka went into my my achievements yesterday and said that I've been playing the game for 5 days, and I have barely scratched the surface. I concur. I think this is the game of the generation and the best game I've played since Witcher 3. It absolutely hooked me. It's got its tentacles into me. I can't put it down. If I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. Wow, do I love this game. And yes, it has gone mainstream. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It is no longer niche. Yes, we already called games Soulsborne games. We might need to change that to Soulsborne Ring games. I don't know. Amazing.
Umbra, how you doing, man? Had a great week. I know that you're 140 last time we spoke on Elden Ring?
Yeah, I'm at 145 now, and I could easily be above that. But the thing is like I'm exploring everywhere and taking my time because I'm a completionist by heart. So it's like this game is so gigantic. It's so much to do, and it's all like kind of unscripted. So it's kind of like you just free flowing to do what you want. And I mean, it's so much to discover, man. It's really crazy. I think it's its plus and it's also its minus in some ways. And I mentioned that before, but I love it, man. I can see why I got the scores it got. I'm, like I said, 150 hours into this thing. So loving it.
Yeah, it's a really well done, put together game. I'm actually currently in the middle of writing a review for it. I'm a little bit late to the party, but I don't get early access to the game. But I'm 110 hours in, and I'm just it's the actual world that really is the star of, I think, the Elden Ring show, because everywhere you go, there's something. It's really well populated with enemies and NPCs. It's really well populated with just things to do, things to look at. The world itself doesn't direct you either. Like a lot of games, like your Assassin's Creeds and your Ubisofts, they will funnel you to where they want you to go, even though they are open world. Whether with markers or even the actual topography of the world itself. And this game does not do that. You have to actively go looking for things to find, little secrets, quests, or weapons and armor. It's a great game. Like I said, like Pete said,
it rewards you from when you actually go in and do those things. So you're right. I agree.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's why you keep doing it.
The picture they put on Twitter the other day where they made a Ubisoft game and they put the HUD on screen that you'd usually have on a Ubisoft game. It was hilarious. It was absolutely just covered in stuff on the screen instead of having that clear HUD that they give you in Elden Ring.
Yeah, I saw that.
You had the map
Jason
in the left hand.
Yeah,
it was hilarious, wasn't it? Check it out if you haven't seen it. Really good.
I was going to lead with one of our topics, but I'm going to quickly switch to keep you guys on the toe, because we're on Elden Ring. So let's just briefly touch on Elden Ring. Earlier in the week, we had a few devs from Ubisoft and Guerrilla.
Gross.
Yeah, getting a bit salty about the game. I'll read the tweets out. This is Ahmed Salma. I think he is from Gorilla. No, he's from Ubi. And he said, the fact that Elden Ring scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop about game UI. My life is a lie. And then a fan jumped in there and said, nor PC graphics, stability and performance, apparently. And then a Guerrilla games designer jumped in and said, nor quest design, really.
Actually, that lady that jumped in is from Nixus, that's now a first-party studio.
Oh, wow.
Oh, the PC port and company boy.
Yes.
Wow.
She's
Right.
Yeah.
And they've since been...
Sony devs, one Ubisoft dev.
They've since been deleted, those tweets. So you can imagine that PlayStation was none too happy. What were your thoughts on this, Boom? Do you think it's a little bit of envy?
You know, here's the thing. You know, social media is a very, very toxic minefield that most of us traverse through on a daily basis. Now, I block and mute people on a regular basis because I don't stand for the console war shenanigans. I have every console. I enjoy them. I'm an Xbox guy first, right? That's my platform of choice. I just like some people will have an Xbox for exclusives, I have a PlayStation for exclusives. What I've come to understand, I'm not a developer, that community is supposed to be very tight-knit, right? It's because they get the most crap out of anything, right? They get death threats, they get called all kinds of names when a game is buggy, even though they may not be responsible for what's happening. To see 3 high-profile developers, 2 of which from Sony and 1 from Ubisoft, to take shots at this game, it's to me, it's just gross. It's immature, and of course their stuff is now deleted, and I'm sure they got reprimanded for it. You know, the same way. Let me break it down like this. That's like me going out of my way to talk about someone else's cast. Oh, did you see that podcast? That footage was in 720p. It was disgusting. I'm sickened. What it's like, and how dare you criticize a game because it's I mean, listen, to get a 97, which by the way I believe it's 98 now, which is now officially the highest reviewed game in the history of Meta. To get that's not a fluke. That's not an accident. They didn't trip over that. That happened because the game is that good. I don't know. For me personally, guys, I was just a little disappointed.
Yeah, it's not, especially when coming from devs that receive these kind of criticisms, you know, every day. To then go and throw that onto another dev is, it's just not the right way to go about things. Bushido, did you catch that tweet?
Yeah, I did too.
Disappointing.
When it was removed, I was like, it doesn't. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
mate, we got
Okay. I think that it was embarrassing as far as I was concerned. I thought it was something that you would have thought as professionals, even if you feel that way, you at least put on the professional face out in public and say, "Hey, congratulations on the game," and you know all the rest of the political stuff, PC stuff you say. But I'm embarrassed for him because it's like if you do well in the game, and the game's not necessarily gorgeous, but the game design is what everybody always talks about. Is the game fun, and the game does well, especially a breakthrough like you guys have been saying too with the Souls type game, the Souls Rings games, I guess we'll call it now then. But to see it break through like this, the sales are off the charts. I mean, like we were talking earlier, 10 million just on PC. That's crazy. But then to hear that, it just feels toxic. Instead of congratulating the studio on such success, guys, you should do that a couple years ago on Twitter. But now it seems like they caught on to the fanboy console war BS. I don't know. I don't even know what to make of it. It just was embarrassing to me.
Yeah, the toxicness is heating up. Jedi, you caught the tweet, didn't you? What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, look, I think it's a disgrace. I completely agree with Bushido. It's just a very bad look. I don't like that that fanboy mentality has infiltrated into the devs. No, if Horizon Forbidden West got its day in the sun, it probably would wanted a longer day in the sun, and I guess Elden Ring took some of that shine off the game. But in saying that, I mean, there's been nothing but mainly positive reviews about Horizon Forbidden West. It's just that Elden Ring is something special. 98 on Metacritic is the highest game ever rated on Metacritic. You know, the success of this game is undeniable, and the fact that you can't congratulate your peers. I mean, we as casuals might not know how hard it is to put such a beautifully polished game out there in the community, to put it into the players' hands, and then to have everyone critique you. But they do. They know the backlash that they get when they don't put out a good game, and and the fact that it came from other developers, it's a really sad state of affairs. And I know that I think they've deleted the tweets or blocked their Twitter profiles now, but their names have been stained. I wouldn't want anything to do with them, and I think that they should come out with a public apology.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think exactly what you said, Pete. They know how it feels to put out a game and have it just rinsed. And even if it's a good game, there's always going to be detractors in the background saying things that aren't flattering about your games or your work, and that's always hard. I know as an ex-chef, I've always critiqued about your food. It doesn't matter how much heart you put into it. I would imagine that developing would be the same, and for developers to behave like this is pretty sad and a bit of a pox on the record. We'll move on to what we were talking about before the show. So PlayStation has been, well, I wouldn't say caught, but they've been cited shipping prototype GDKs and models on a manifest, and Tweaktown spotted this and wrote an article about it. And it says here, I'll verbatim read this. Import records show that Sony Interactive Entertainment, which is the branch of Sony that handles PlayStation, has shipped thousands of boxes of development kits to the US over the past few months. Most shipments have originated in Japan and Korea. Other listings show Sony exported a shipment labeled video game console prototype from the UK to the US last November. So that's very interesting. Now, look, my take on this before we go to Jedi, because I know Jedi's going to jump on this as soon as I have finished. But my take on this is PlayStation doesn't have the full RDNA 2 feature set. And if they're clever, they know that by mid say, 2024, they're going to start getting left behind exclusive-wise. They don't have VRS. They don't have anything to do with hardware. They can do these things software. They don't have ray tracing baked in. They don't have mesh shaders. There's a lot that they don't have with that RDNA 2 feature set that can save GPU and CPU massive percentages, giving them more headroom to make better games. And I think personally that Sony would be remiss and probably are working on a PS5 Pro with that RDNA 2 feature set in it. Because we know they kind of jumped the gun and tried to get those consoles out early to beat Xbox to the punch, but I think it's worked against them in the long run. Jedi, you don't think so?
Yeah, no, I think the prototype that they've put out there is the PSVR 2 prototypes. I think that they're finally getting the somewhat final product into developers' hands now. I know they've had the specs for a while, but this is actually the product coming out. Look, even if you're right, I think it's far too early for them to would have actually developed a Pro. And I've said it before, I don't think that there will be a mid-gen refresh this year, this generation. The reason why there was a mid-gen refresh last generation is because 4K TVs became more prevalent in the community. And so they wanted to be able to utilize those 4K TVs and that 4K graphics set. And that's why we got the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Both great consoles. Yes, I understand that the PS5 doesn't have the full RDNA 2 feature set, and I think that there will be a power narrative change or the Xbox will prove its power in the long run. But in saying that, I think the PS5 also hasn't really hit its stride in terms of using all its feature set as well. They have, the Kraken architecture. They have, I forget what it's called, but other feature sets that haven't been utilized yet. And I just can't see them saying 17 plus million people that have already bought their console that, well, look, we're sorry, guys. We kind of stuffed up, and you guys, the early adopters of our technology, the guys that have, supported us all the way, the guys that have paid $500 for a console, that you guys are missing out. You guys don't have the best console we could make. They haven't used the Geometry engine really. They haven't really tapped into the Tempest engine really. They haven't really tapped into Kraken. So the PS5 is a great console. Yes, I do believe that the Series X is more powerful, but I don't believe that there's any need for a Pro at this stage.
Oh, not at this stage, but we know that they work on consoles years and years and years ahead of when they release them. So to me, this is them handing it out to developers, going, what do you think? This is what we're looking at doing for our Pro. We're going to do this. We may not see it for 3 years, but if you're saying that there's no need for a Pro, and that they wouldn't build a Pro based on their sales and their early adopters, they've done it before. And they'll do it again. They've made their money off those people, and they know that those people, the early adopters, will more than likely go and buy a Pro console again. So they make their money double out of those people.
I agree completely. We've talked about it in the pregame, but I agree completely. I know. I feel you on that. Just because it's like Sony isn't Microsoft. And what I mean by that is Sony absolutely will bleed their customer base dry when it comes to that type of tactic. They absolutely will say, hey, we're going to put out a Pro. And because they know their fan base is super loyal, and they're going to go and buy that console regardless. They might complain, but they're still going to go buy it. So
yeah, look,
I don't put it
also
past.
think there's external factors as well, Umbra, like the price of chips at the moment now, the inability to get chips at the moment, that will also compound the fact that they wouldn't want to go into making a new console now. It'll make it even more expensive. I think PlayStation announced, I don't know, a while ago, that they're actually making money now on the PS5s per console shipped. Well, that's the disc version anyway. I'm pretty sure, although there's no figures, that Xbox is actually losing money per console. But and that's why they have that power narrative advantage, because they waited for the full RDNA to be implemented. And that's why they were so far behind when with the dev kits and the GDK and all that, and all that other stuff. But look, I just can't see Sony doing that.
I think to be fair, I think both of you guys have good points when it comes to that. I think you're not wrong at all to say that. I mean, we're already facing shortages, so what's the likelihood of that? But as Rich pointed out, that's years out. And these companies, they don't sit around and wait. They start developing a new console way ahead of time. So I don't know. I'm torn, honestly. I can see them doing it just because history has shown us that they'll do it. But you might be right. I don't know. What do you think about it, Boone?
No sitting on the fence, Umbra. This is Xbox Infinite. We don't sit on the fence here, mate.
Everyone has made incredible points, and yes, they do prototype consoles in advance. But I have a theory. As great as it sounds that they are potentially prototyping a Pro, which, like I said, it would make total sense, because compared one console to the other, it's missing a ton of features that the Xbox has and it doesn't. But the problem that we're all dealing with in the entire world is the chip shortage is at an all-time high, because the same chips, the same semiconductors that are being used for games are making phones and hospital equipment and cars and technology that helps produce things on farms and in big companies to help process food. So everyone is feeling the squeeze. For me, only because we know that the PlayStation VR 2.0 is on the way. I honestly believe that is what is shipping, because that is what's going to ship first. I don't see a world where a PlayStation 5 Pro comes out before the PlayStation VR 2, only because, like I said, they can't even put PlayStation 5 Pro, PlayStation 5 proper on a shelf right now. You know what I'm saying? So if they reserve these chips for this prototype console, I just think it's taking away from what their ultimate goal. See, Sony isn't Microsoft. Microsoft has the X, and they have, which I called years ago. Me and King David talked about this, the Trojan horse in the Series S. And they can get away doing it. That's why you see the Series S everywhere, because they're able to make 2-to-1 on the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, and they're making, because people want to buy that console. It's a great console to have. Only because I think, and I would have even said that maybe this holiday we would get the PlayStation VR 2.0. I'm thinking maybe first quarter next year, somewhere in March, because of the chip shortage. I just don't, man. I mean, I know they want to make a Pro, and I know that was rumored last year. I just don't see that happening, man.
Not at all, even down the line. So if we're talking, say, 2-3 years, you don't see a Pro.
Two or 3 years down the line, I think, sure. But I think that to try and ship those prototype consoles now, I don't know. I think what they could do is just give the PC, let the developers try and make games based on PC specs, and you know what I'm saying? Like I could see them doing that, not actually sending the consoles, only because there's a chip shortage. If there's no chip shortage, I agree 100%. I said this is probably the PlayStation 5 Pro, but with the shortage, man, I don't know if they can do that.
Gaz, there you go. Gaz is in the chat there. Delay Halo. Too late,
Hey,
Gaz.
Gaz, what's up, brother?
You're too late. Mr. Bushido, what do you think about this? Do you think that this might be another PlayStation 5 Pro, or do you think it could be the headsets, as Pete's saying?
I'm going to be honest with you. Listening to everybody go through each point, I was agreeing with everything each person had to say, because of good points. Because it's like, I didn't know what to think of it either. I was thinking it's the VR headset. And then when people were talking about the dev kit, and I said, well, maybe it's just a revised dev kit? But then I was thinking, the Pro, I'm with Umbra on this, though. Fanboys will buy anything that PlayStation puts out. They will not have hard feelings about buying the... now, I will. Oh, I absolutely will. If I bought this PS5 and I got the disc version, and you bring out another one a year from now, maybe 2, I might not be so upset, I don't know. But you do this a year from now, I will be upset that I chased this console for about 8 months and then finally was able to get one. And now you tell me you had to already been working on it then, because you just can't come up with the specs for a new Pro version that fast. You already had to been working on it. But
yeah.
I don't.
That's true.
I can't. Yeah, I can't see it. I think that fans can buy it though. Don't get me wrong. They will buy it and won't complain a little bit. But it's just hard to look at everything and say, I think it's definitely this, it's definitely that, and it's definitely this. Like the debates you guys are having on it was like, I think he's right. I think he's right with this one too. So in this instance, I am not sure. If I was to bank on something, I would think VR. If I had to bank on something, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Pro version. I don't think so. But like Boom said, the chip shortages was hurting everything because, like he said, it's in every freaking thing, from cars to phones. I mean, you just name it. It's in it. And to be able to make another console, and you already have a problem with dishing out the consoles you have. And I think the reason why we're starting to get an influx of consoles now is because they stopped sending stuff to Russia. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing I look at when I think VR and not a Pro version.
I want to add something to that before anyone goes on. Jedi said what you said. I think last week when we spoke about it, he said he think it might be about the VR, and Risk was like, well, they already have those out, the kits for that. So I'm a little torn on that. But I will say this too. As far as them making this and developing it, yeah, you're right. There's the stock and shipments of the current consoles are limited, but as we know, they're developing these consoles years out. So the shortages, I believe, are supposed to end around 2024. They're saying at latest 25.
Supposedly.
So that's more than
keep pushing it back, don't they? About Umbra, I mean, they originally said 2022. So I mean, it just keeps getting pushed back. And look, I also wanted to add something else. The only time we've had a mid-gen refresh was last generation. So I don't know if that will continue. And I would prefer it not to. I would prefer to only have to buy one console per generation, especially with how expensive they are. And also another point, Sony have already changed the specs of the PS5. They changed the heatsink entirely, and they've changed the nanometer chip in there from, I think they're going from an 8 to a 6 to help with shortages. So they already have changed it, but they've kept the actual specs of the console exactly the same. They've just tried to save some money on copper, and they've tried to smooth out the process by using a different nanometer chipset that they can produce more of. And so in terms of actually increasing the specs of the console, I just can't see it happening. I think this is the prototype of PSVR 2, and you know what, that's a good thing. PSVR, I really want to see the games that PSVR 2 comes out with. I think that it can push virtual reality into the mainstream, and that's a good thing for gamers.
Yeah, look, I can kind of see that point, but I'm going to have to disagree with you again. I mean, look at the sales that they got from PlayStation 4 Pro. Consoles don't go up in price as they're released, they go down. And the PS4 obviously went down over its life cycle. And that mid-gen refresh, I think nearly 1 in 5, it says here. There's 110 million PS4 Pros, PS4s sold, and 1 in 5 of those are PS4 Pros. And they see like 40% upgrades. Yep, the amount of money that they've made from the PS4 Pro, I can't see them not making a PS5 Pro when they have a good reason to make it. They'll see where the Xbox Series X was future-proofed. They were very clever with that RDNA 2 feature set. When things start to progress a little bit more, we get higher-end GPUs and all that sort of stuff. The Xbox Series X can keep up, possibly even the Series S, yet to be seen.
They can overcome that narrative through marketing, just like they've done with 3D audio. I mean, we all know that Xbox has 3D audio for ages now. They've had, Dolby, which is a much better version of 3D audio.
But have you ever seen PlayStation balk at making more money? When they find a way to make more money, they double down on that, and they made a shitload more money.
Is they'll actually make less money because producing a new console will actually cost money, and then increasing the specs of the console will cost money, and so the amount they make per console will be reduced.
Yeah, they just charge for it.
Why not just bring out a slim version, which is basically the same specs but in a more sleek body.
It's not just the money. It's not just the money that they make from the consoles. When you look at this, they make money from the software. That's where we know they make their money in software. And then what does PlayStation do? What does PlayStation? Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. What does PlayStation do when they give you upgrades? They charge you for it every single time. If they've got a reason, if they've got a reason to charge you for an upgrade, they will. Umbra, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they can do both. That's the thing with Sony. They're going to give you the slim version. It's going to come out. That's no question. But then they can also put out their pro version. I think they will. I think they're incentivized to do so because they sold through those before and they profited from it. They didn't just sell through. we have to keep that in mind. Sony actually profited from their console sales. They started profiting from the PS5 last year. So they're incentivized to do so again. I see no reason why they wouldn't. Especially again, the fan base are very loyal. The shortages might be the issue, if anything. I agree with you there and Boom there. But
like I said, there was
no
a reason to bring out a mid-gen refresh last generation because 4K TVs became much more prevalent in society. So they could push out that 4K buzzword out there, and it worked incredibly well. What are they going to push out this year? 8K or no? We're just making a new one because we want to change the power narrative story. No, I think that can be done through marketing, and that way they can save a bit of money.
Yep,
Bushido? That's the only thing I could think of that would make that something that they would make a necessity or push through is if the power narrative was that
big
visual or that big. If that 30% shows up on especially third party games, especially when you get into RDNA 2, if it shows up, that is absolutely on the table. If it really shows up, I absolutely believe that even if they weren't going to do it, that they would consider how to do it before the generation was over.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
especially
Bushido, I agree with that, and we haven't actually seen that. Like now, I'm pretty sure most of us are more Xbox centric, although we're all gamers and we love all consoles. We would have thought that the power narrative would have already shown itself to be more prevalent this generation, and it's not something that we've actually seen that much of. In fact, PlayStation have been outperforming the Xbox in numerous games. So at the moment, I mean, it's basically, I would call it a tie, because I would have expected Xbox to have a much more vast advantage when it comes in terms of
initially the PS5 outperformed the Xbox. It hasn't been outperforming the Xbox in the later in 2021 and us coming into 2022. But we'll move on because I reckon we could back and forth about this all day. There's been a few things that have happened this week. Redfall gameplay was leaked. To me, it's an early leak, so I don't think you can judge this game based on an early leak with it hyper-compressed Twitter footage. But there's definitely some Twitter warriors out there taking shots at the Redfall footage. You obviously saw this, Boom. I saw you were tagged in the actual tweet itself.
Yeah. I mean, listen. First of all, has that team made a bad game yet?
No.
I mean, they haven't. So it's safe to assume that when Redfall comes out, it's potentially going to be a banger, as the kids say, right? We I don't understand how some screenshots and a little bit of gameplay, like you said, from a compressed Twitter file, automatically says, "Yep, piece of garbage. It's crap." It's only crap because it's an Xbox exclusive. If it wasn't an Xbox exclusive, it'd be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Look out, right? If it was PlayStation exclusive, so I just think that it's. I put it this way: it's a shame that it did get leaked. Obviously, I'm sure that they didn't want that to happen. That's a shame. That's a shame that actually happened. But listen, I'm sure when we actually see the game potentially in June when they have their whatever the E3 looks like, it's going to look amazing.
Yeah, look, that's the other thing I kind of wanted to ask the panel about this is we are, I think 4 or 5 months away from when Redfall was slated to release, and this is the only footage that we've seen. Is this a cause for concern? I mean, we talked about this last week or a couple of weeks ago that Xbox really isn't showing their hand. They've got the ID at Xbox coming up, but with this game being the first of their exclusives that were supposed to release this year, what's going on? Why haven't we seen anything from Redfall other than this leaked footage?
Yeah, and this game was meant to launch in summer, wasn't it? So that's winter. So, I mean, at earliest it's 3 months away, at latest it's 6 months away. But, yeah, look, it's very worrying that we haven't seen anything yet. I can't see this game coming out in American summer or the Australian winter. I think it's going to get pushed back for sure. They can't wait till E3 because they'll to show it if it is coming out that soon. But they can wait if it is going to be pushed back. What do you think about what you saw, Umbra? Are you looking forward to Redfall? Do you think it's going to be delayed?
I think it'll be great. And like Boone pointed out, this team hasn't failed us yet. So they have my confidence until they don't, right? So my thinking is early. Anytime we see something so early, it's going to leave a bad taste. And what we saw was like, that looks like trash. And I get it, but people have to turn off that mindset and give the game its due in its time. And from the newer screenshots that I've seen and the gameplay, it looks pretty solid. It looks much improved compared to the early leaks. And again, we're seeing it on a really low res screen, so it's kind of hard to really give it any real credence one way or another. But like Boone pointed out, their pedigree speaks for itself. I think they'll be fine. I think the game will be fine. Also, just to say, I do agree that not hearing anything all this time does kind of give you a pause, right? But we know Bethesda's way, and they typically show gameplay so close out, so until release. So they still have time. It doesn't have to be the beginning of summer. It could be the end of summer, right? It could be the second month of summer, which will still give them that 4 month or 5 month release schedule that they typically stick to. So one way or another, I can see it happening. I'm not certain one way or another, but I am liking what I'm seeing so far. It does give off the Left 4 Dead kind of vibes, or some had said the Back 4 Blood, which is the downgraded version of Left 4 Dead. But
I don't know about that. Back 4 Blood's a great game.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was unnecessary. That was unnecessary.
Yeah, what they called it?
Low blow, bro.
The Sony fanboys mid-fall. Yeah. No, I think like Boone pointed out too, if it was a Sony game, first party, they'd be, celebrating it like it's going to be game of the year. So I don't take anything they say seriously, and I hope the Xbox fanboys don't do the same. I hope they just relax and accept the game for what it is. I think it'll be great. I think we'll end up, I don't know. I don't want to say what it'll be. I just don't know if it'll be delayed or not, just because of their history, so it's hard to really say.
Look, even Bethesda give their games 6 months breathing room or marketing space before they release it, and so that suggests that we should have seen something already. So even though they do like to show their games quite late, that they're really, really pushing this one really late. And if you watched E3 last year, pretty much everyone was wearing a Bite Back t-shirt, so they were heavily promoting this game. And they typically only ever do that when they have really, a big faith in the product. So I do think that this game is going to be great. Arcane are an amazing studio, but I just cannot see this being out in the winter in America. The summer in America. And then what are you going to do? Are you going to push it back to when Starfield comes out? Are you going to have those games going up against each other? Are you going to heavily back end the year just like they did last year with Forza and Halo? Those are two very different type of games. I get it, and I suppose Starfield and Redfall will be different. One will be a more co-op centric game, and one will be more a single player narrative experience. But I still think that both those games deserve their own breathing room, 3 months apart, and that's going to be hard to do if they push it back too far. But what do you think about Redfall, Bushido? What do you think about the leaks? What do you think about the game, mate?
I'm always gonna keep it a buck, as the kids say it, as Boom says. It's not for me. It's not for me. I had fun with Back 4 Blood. I actually think it is a good game. Actually, I had a lot of fun with it. One reason why I stopped playing is a lot of the guys I was playing stopped playing. I think that I just didn't like the way that I have to. I didn't like the fact that it reminds me of another Back 4 Blood game, and I'm more of the when you make another game, I want to see something different type of guy. I'm not usually harsh on the game, because if the game is good, the game is good. But it didn't do anything for me. But like Umbra said, and Boom said, Arcane just does not fail. Even though the sales for certain games might not do well, but the game will still be good. It'll review well. It just didn't sell well, but it doesn't mean the game wasn't good, though. I think that I'm not optimistic, but I'm not pessimistic either. I don't think it's going to be a bad game. I just don't think it'll be for me. That's just about it. And plus, too, I think it's a really old build. If I'm not mistaken, I've heard that it was an old build anyway. So if it's an old build, I wouldn't be surprised that, it doesn't look like that.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a leak, so you can't judge the game on a leak. They obviously weren't ready to show it, and I do like the fact that they are putting the game into players' hands, so they can get that feedback from the community. It just seems that one of the people that they gave the game to actually leaked it, which is disappointing because you want the developer to have control of when they show their game, so we don't get this negative narrative that we've got at the moment. So that is unfortunate.
But you know what? That's another thing I was going to say. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That was another thing I was going to say. One of the reasons why I believe that you notice that more and more developers are showing their games later, and one of the reasons why is because stuff like this. If the game gets shown when it's not 100% polished, it gets dumped on social media on a daily basis. You get memes.
And that narrative is hard to change.
Yes, the narrative is almost impossible to change. We've had plenty of games that came out good. Right, and it affects sales. And so what happens is, the only thing stuck on most, especially casuals, on casuals' minds is the last thing they saw. They don't usually keep up with the industry. Whatever pops in front of them is what they see, and that's all they remember. Guys like us, we keep up with it. We keep up with each studio and what they're doing and everything, rumors and what's being heard and said. I don't blame them now for not showing games late anymore, because as gamers, real fickle bunch. I mean, frustratingly fickle bunch. We want to see games early. We don't want to see games early. I only want to see the game when it's ready. I want to know that the game
has to be gameplay, and it can't be a CGI trailer.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, they just keep changing the goalposts, mate. You're exactly right, Bushido.
Yeah, but I think it's just because people are different. I prefer if you have a game in development and you just want to tease the game, like, hey, we're working on this. I'm cool with that. I don't care if it's 3 or 4 years down the line. I'm fine with that. But other people aren't, though.
Yeah, look, I think if it's a few years out and you're just letting everyone know what you've got coming, and you drop a cinematic trailer, I think that's fine. I think when we get closer to release and you're dropping cinematic trailers, that becomes an issue. I don't personally have an issue.
Sony does it all the time, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sony does it all the time.
I mean,
nobody says a word.
What I want I just want to kind of talk about this studio. There are certain studios that when they make a game, most of the industry stops and pauses to see what they're doing. This is the same studio that brought Dishonored 1, 2, Prey, and Deathloop. Like,
Deathloop game of the year for a lot of people last year as well. Yeah,
folks, look, I get it. If there's some concern, you can only go based on what your eyes show you, right? So this is what we're seeing, and people are gonna walk away holding their chin. Oh man, I'm concerned. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not, because look at the pedigree. The pedigree speaks for itself, and this is incredibly different than any of the experiences I just talked about. Dishonored 1 and 2, Spy, right? It was more like a stealth kind of a game. Prey, in space. Deathloop, 1v1 versus, in the most wackiest way possible. This is a 4-player co-op game that may or may not be like Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood. It's probably going to have some traits for sure, but at its core, it's probably going to be a first-person shooter with a story. Like I said, if you're talking about a team like, let's say, Platinum Games that misses twice and hits once out of every 3 games, then I can see maybe you're onto something. But to suggest that just because a couple of screenshots leaked and some gameplay that was very, very questionable, I don't know, man. I'm not going to hold the candle to it.
No, I'd agree with that, and especially when you look at the footage and where the footage is posted, it's hyper compressed. You got to compress the hell out of anything to get it on Twitter, and it doesn't give it its due whenever you put anything.
It's
any
probably
footage.
running at 560p.
Yeah,
I like that Arcane is trying something new as well. I really wanted to see what they're coming up, and I know everyone's saying Back for Blood, but we've also heard that it's going to be very Borderlands-like, and that sounds great to me.
Right.
I mean, co-opting with my friends with cool weapons and cool characters in a brand new world to explore together. Yeah, bring it on. By Arcane. Wow. The guys that really... What Arcane are brilliant at is actual world design and bringing an area together better than anyone else. And to experience that with my friends, I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
they have a great imagination in their games.
Yeah, they're very, very good. But speaking of Bethesda games, we'll move on to the next topic. Bethesda seems like they've got a new game in development. They've been very quiet on this, but Skullsy is a YouTuber who picked this up from a registered trademark name, which was Spy Game. And Bethesda registered that in January 2022. Interesting, because Bethesda have already really got their hands full with everything that we've seen that they're bringing. Do we think that this is something that's very, very far? Well, I personally think it's something that's very, very far down the road that they're probably talking about, but not yet developing. I don't think this game's in development. They've got their hands full with Starfield. There was talk of a new Fallout, New Vegas 2. Redfall. There's a lot of games they've got coming out. Fable. Fable's not Bethesda. My bad. There's so much.
Avowed. It's a different studio. This is a different studio. This is.
They've got so many Western studios.
Or it's either Bethesda Montreal. Yeah, it's coming out of Canada. It's either Bethesda Montreal, which we don't know what they're working on, or Roadhouse Studios, which we haven't heard of for 4 or 5 years. So I think it's Roadhouse Studios. And look, a spy game. And from all reports, I think it's going to be co-op as well. So, yeah, I mean, bring it on.
Are they not support studios though? Generally, typically they're supporting Bethesda normally, aren't they? Or are they?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, not Roadhouse. Not Roadhouse. They were bought, and they really haven't done anything since they were bought. But they're typically not a support studio. But Bethesda Montreal is.
Boom. What do you think? Do you think this game's in development, or do you think it's something that's way back in the future?
Well, I mean, there's some other points to this. Like, according to Skullsy, which, by the way, I've had the kid on twice on my shows. He does know his stuff, and he's a good skulker. Like, the guy doesn't know how to dumpster dive for this information. So has he gotten things wrong? Sure, we all have. But there was something else mentioned in this supposed Bethesda game, and that it was based on a very popular comic IP. So we talked about this on the Xbox Factor podcast this Tuesday. When you say popular comic IP, are we talking Marvel? Are we talking DC? Are we talking Image Comics? Valiant? I honestly don't know. But if it turns out to be a hero, because it's supposed to be PvPvE, so it's supposed to have PvP elements, of course, and then some AI controlled stuff. I don't know what to believe, but Bethesda does have a lot on their plate. But Roundhouse has not done anything in a while, and if they got purchased a couple of years ago, they could have been working on this game 3-4 years already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my apologies, Roundhouse. Thank you, Boo.
Yeah.
No. I mean, again, trust me, I do this stuff all day long. All I do is read, man. I can't remember certain things, but video game stuff I can remember for years to come. I don't know. It's look. Let me just say this. Right now, Microsoft, from what we have heard, and you've heard Jez Corden, who I'm a huge fan of. He happened to be on my show 2 weeks ago. They have like 50 games in development, dude. Like 50 freaking games. They have so many games that they're going to be inundated. Like this year is considered a bit of a down year because they only have 4 AAA games. If Redfall makes it, again, we're still up in the air about Redfall making it. But you know, Motorsport, Redfall, Deathloop and Starfield. Plus, there might be another 1 or 2 surprises. You know, we don't know where Compulsion's game is. How long have they been working on that? I don't know. A couple of years from what I understand from We Happy Few. But this is, if it turns out that this is another new IP coming from Bethesda, man, talk about Microsoft really hitting a home run with this purchase.
Yeah, the year of Bethesda, huh? Like, I mean, carrying Microsoft on its shoulders.
Yeah, for this year, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, right. They've got just looking up. I'm just looking up Roundhouse Studios, which is formerly Human Head Studios.
Human Head Studios. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the games they've had in development. And I haven't really had much to. I haven't really played any of these games. Rune 2, Survived by, The Quiet Man, Dungeon Defenders, Lost Within. These aren't really massive AAA titles, so it will be interesting to see what they come with. Considering they've also developed mobile games, quite a few. It'll be interesting to see what they come with.
Yeah, but this is the first game where they've got the backing of Bethesda behind them.
The money,
exactly.
Human Head Studios was so small, dude.
Tiny.
Yeah,
it was such a small studio, and I actually think some of their stuff was crowdfunded. So you know, now that they have the backing of Bethesda and Microsoft, who's to say that they're not going to bring like a real banger?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
And not just the backing of Bethesda. You got it's Microsoft, isn't it? Bethesda is Microsoft.
Yeah,
that amount of money
was developed with just when Bethesda purchased them. So I don't think Microsoft will have too much involvement. But there was a reason why Bethesda bought the studio in the first place. I'm sure this game would have been one of the main reasons. So yeah, looking forward to see what they can do. Definitely.
Absolutely.
It's possible. They could also have them use them for a support studio too. Who knows for sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But like I was saying with Microsoft, my point being is that amount of a cash injection, they might have already been 2 years into development and then getting a massive cash injection from Microsoft if Microsoft liked the look of what they're developing. And as you said, Bethesda obviously did like the look of what they're developing. This could be a banger.
True.
This could be a banger. Absolutely. Bushido, do you think this might be something good? Or you think it might be something a little bit niche?
No, I think it'll be something big. I think like I said, the backing of Microsoft. We've seen studios that were smaller that got funding and did big things and great things. In this instance, given a studio this kind of funding, I don't know how much it is exactly, but you know how Microsoft is. I just don't think that it'll be bad, but I think I'm more stuck on like what comic book it could be from. If it is a comic book game thing, I was thinking Valiant and some of the smaller ones because they have some really good comics, but I couldn't really pin down any particular comic book because certain comic books aren't known like that, and Invincible wasn't, but it was made into it because of the show. It became popular, but I knew about that years ago, the whole storyline and everything. But in this instance, I'm sorry, what you say?
No, I was just co-signing you.
Oh yeah. But in this instance, let's say it was Invincible. You have a lot of characters you could use out of that, and they've also had exposure. I just would like to know what type of game it would be. I'm kind of excited, and I never get excited over rumors, but I am kind of excited over this because of the fact that I think it will be something on that lines.
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't say I'm excited. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I want to see more about what we've got coming. I want to see more about what we've got coming from Xbox in general. So, I mean, but they do typically have an ID show, and which they are having, I think, this month, and then they usually a few months after that have a big AAA show. So, it'll be interesting to see if this comes up at the big show or what would have been at E3 or their showcase. Moving on, Skull and Bones beta. is actually releasing, I think, later this month or next month. I did have a look into this, guys. It's actually just a PC beta from what I can tell. And the specs were extremely specific when you were signing up, and there's no mention of consoles. But this game has had a lot of trouble coming to market. I mean, we haven't really heard a lot about it since its announcement. I think it was in 2019. It's been pretty quiet. The only things that we have heard are that it's been had a troubled development, and the developers haven't been backwards and coming forwards about that. And we know that the Singapore government actually propped up this game because, as Pete was saying earlier in the week, they want more developers within their country. So, Pete, are you excited for Skull and Bones? Look, I know I am. I love the combat in Black Flag. Combat in Black Flag was amazing. I love that game. That was one of the most amazing games. It's definitely in my top 10 of all time. So I'd be interested to see how this comes out. Pete?
Yeah, look, I don't know how a full game of naval combat ships will work. I loved the naval combat in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I thought it was innovative. It was extremely fun. But if you got sick of it, you could just step back into the world of Assassin's Creed and, start assassinating people. So I don't know how a full game will go. Even Sea of Thieves, you can go, onto shore and get treasure and all that kind of stuff. In saying that, I'm interested. I don't think I'd buy this game outright. I don't think I'd pay full price for it. I'd love it if it would come to Game Pass. I think Game Pass would suit it very well because, it's a co-op game that you can play with your friends, and it can sort of make a name for itself, just like Sea of Thieves did. But, yeah, look, I don't know enough. And from all reports, the only reason this game is still being made is because it's been propped up by the Singaporean government, who injected a large amount of money into it just to be able to say that they want their games industry to compete with Japan, to compete with South Korea, and so the government really propped up this game, and I think that's the only reason we're getting it, and that points to trouble for me.
Boom, are you excited to see this come out, Skull and Bones? It's been quite a while in development.
Well, yeah, it's been a bit. I agree. I think Black Flag's combat was at some points very addicting. Like, you couldn't wait to find the next island to shoot at or the next ship to sink. I thought it was great. The question is, Sea of Thieves has proven that there is a world where people like pirates. People don't really have a great. Some people don't really dig the cartooniness of what Rare has, and it's doing very well. I mean, it's 25 million players. That's something. That's nothing to sneeze at. 25 million, if anything, is huge.
Oh, you're right, mate.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, for me, not for me. I'm a single player guy. I like single player narratives. I like the stories. That's why I'm so addicted to Elden Ring, because I do love the single player nature of it. But I mean, listen, do we know if it's the same team that did Black Flag? Do we know if that's what it is?
It's the same team that did the naval combat, so they actually farmed out the naval combat.
If that in fact is the case, it's probably going to be very good. The question that you have to ask: how much longevity does a game where it doesn't have a narrative, in there? I don't know. I mean, because I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of a story. It's not just going to be like pick a ship, pick a different color and go out there and start killing each other. I think there's probably going to be some sort of a narrative. I would like to believe there's going to be a single player element to it, but it is going to be mostly ship based combat. And I'm interested. I think that you're right. I think Game Pass is exactly where it should land. I don't know if this is going to be one of those, jump off the shelves or off the digital stores kind of a thing.
Yeah, and we've heard a lot about it. We've heard that it's going to be an MMO. We heard that it was going to be a live service. There was talk of it having a single-player narrative story. I think it's gone through so much development hell that no one really knows what it is at the moment. So it is. I suppose it is. It's apprehensive would be the word. I'm excited if it's anything like Black Flag's Combat. You know, sure, you're right though. Is that going to hold me for any amount of time? Probably not. Probably not at all.
I'm on the fence. When we spoke on it before, I'm still on the fence about it. I'm with Boom that, yeah, if it's Black Flag's team, I'm excited for that reason only, but that's only for the naval part, right? But that does mean the naval part will be solid because Black Flag is actually my favorite Assassin's Creed game. So I'm solid in that. But what, like Boom said, what about the combat? What about the longevity? Is it story-based? I need something that's going to hold my attention. Something that's going to be more than, we're just going to fight it in ships. I need something more than that for them to get me in. And it's been in development hell for years. I don't have much confidence.
You know, Ubisoft has been talking to Microsoft. Maybe they've been talking about this game and putting it into Game Pass. I think this game is a perfect Game Pass candidate. And
That's a good point.
Really prop it up.
True, good point. Especially if there's going to be some type of, I guess, massive multiplayer kind of thing going on with it. Yeah.
Speaking of Game Pass candidates, and just moving on from the Black Flag Skull and Bones. Before we do, though, I just want to thank everyone in the chat for coming through. You guys do hold up the show. I really appreciate it. If you're just joining us, this is Xbox Infinite. Today we've got Mr. Boomstick, Mr. Bushido. Hit the like button if you're enjoying it. Hit that subscribe button if it's your first time here. We do shows every week at 7 p.m. EST or 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Fridays for America and Saturdays for Australia. GTA 5 is just basically going after another cash grab. They've having a look at having a look at what they're actually offering. Is it worth another? Well, it's $40 Australian, but is it worth another $20 American? They're offering. They've got ray tracing, 4K, frames per second, 60 frames per second. I mean, the only thing they're offering there that Xbox hasn't offered for free is the ray tracing with most of the FPS boosted games. Yeah, this is a bit disappointing, especially considering that Resident Evil just announced that they'd be updating Resident Evil 2 remake, 3 remake, and 7.
7.
Yeah, and offering all exactly the same things that GTA is offering, but doing it for free if you already own the game. It's yours. This is a bit ridiculous, Boom. Are you a bit tired?
Can I tell you something that might incite a riot within the chat? It has been confirmed by numerous publications, including VGC, Video Games Chronicles. I love those guys over there. That the Xbox version is discounted right now for 50% off. So you can get it for, normally it's going to launch for $40, and that's just a single player campaign. PS, by the way, the multiplayer is sold separately. So if you want to get it for $20, you can. But guess what, folks? If you have a PlayStation 5, you pay only $10. That's right, $10 for the same thing. They gave Sony players a $10 discount via whatever deal that Sony money had at this particular situation. But yeah, so first of all, here's the thing. The game is a title that launched in 2013. They've sold well over 100 million copies. I don't see how anyone has not played or owns this copy. I think everyone owns 2 and you just don't know it. Why do we continue to allow 2K games to get away with this kind of shenanigans?
I agree.
Well, but I think it's the casuals that are propping up this game. I think
potentially, sure.
Yeah, I really do. And I mean, how much money are they making off this online game with that stupid shark card system, which is an absolute disgrace? And this is another cash grab by 2K and Rockstar. It's disgusting. I can't believe that they can. I understand that there's a 3-month discount, but the fact is it's a $40 game, which is going to be $60 in Australia. You can't tell me that they spent that much time upping the graphics for this game. I'm sorry, but it's originally a 360 game. Then they moved over the Xbox One. What they want, they want you to buy it again for a new generation. I hope beyond hope that nobody buys this game and actually says that enough.
And we saw it, right?
Enough.
We saw it. It didn't look that good. Like, to me, they showed it. I think it was on an Xbox showcase or something. It didn't look like it was much different, personally. You know, and how many?
I think it very much looked like what you already get on an Xbox Series X.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I hope that the casuals don't go ahead and buy this, but unfortunately, I think that
No, they're going to.
history shows us that they will.
Yeah, that GTA name is just, it's huge.
It's become synonymous with cash
Yeah.
grabs, though, with us, I guess, what you would call hardcore gamers. And the casuals don't know any better. But Snoozy in the chat there said it's time for a new game. It absolutely is. Umbra, would you be keen to see a GTA 6?
No,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, for a GTA 6, yeah. But Part 5, man, I had that back on the 360, and then I think I might have gotten it for the Xbox One, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. Boom said you got 2 copies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what's the
Everyone
use?
has 2 copies. That's great. I love it.
Yeah,
yeah, I think I bought it
Crazy.
physically on 360, physically on Xbox One, and digitally on Xbox One. So I've got 3. So yeah,
I'm
I'm part of the
guilty.
I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, you're all part of the problem, eh? Oh, I got it on game. I played it on Game Pass. That was it.
yeah. It's
Said you're
crazy.
all part of the
Like,
problem. He's like, not me though. You guys are.
right. But no, like, yeah, it's like Boom said, it's been since 2013. Come on. At this point, they should be making Part 7 by now. Like, it's ridiculous. And I think they can get away with it, obviously, because of the online part. And the online portion has been so strong for them. And I get it. They're making money hand over fist. I get it's business at the end of the day. But, like, I think it has to be a balance where you also try to appease your fans and simply just, giving little DLC content for the online portion doesn't do it for me personally. I can't speak for anyone else, but I tuned out at that point. Give me story-based GTA. That's what I signed on for. Same thing with the other titles. Same thing with like Red Dead Redemption and such. I tried the online and they didn't put much into it, and it's just not for me. Give me a story-based something. So it's crazy at the point. And this deal here that they worked out, it seems, if I had to, I don't want to sound like a Karen or something, but it seems like it seems illegal. Like, hold on, how come there's 10 for them and 20 over here?
And
Wait
you
a
know what?
minute.
When I think Umbra, I think Karen. I don't know why, mate.
No, but look,
And I want to be your manager, please.
it does seem a little bit unfair that they're skinning Xbox players and not skinning the PlayStation players. And
You know what's even more interesting than that?
I think Sony paid for that.
If you look at the press release from Rockstar specifically, the way that they talk up PlayStation with all of the advancements in the 3D audio as well as the haptic trigger, they spent a lot of time, making it very, very specific for the PlayStation 5, and they're only charging them $10. And what they did the least for the Xbox, they're charging double. Yeah, it is a bit of a conundrum. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, look, I won't be touching
So
that.
yeah, what you're saying, Boom, is basically Xbox fans are paying for the PlayStation upgrades. Wow.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Basically.
good point.
Yeah.
Basically. I think that when it comes to the GTA community, they might be worse than any fanboys when it comes to. I don't mean toxicity. I mean as far as buying any shred of anything from Rockstar and 2K. Like anything, as long as it has GTA on it, they will continue to buy it. And I know me and Umbra have said this before in spaces, like, stop buying this, and then they will finally come up with the other game. But if you keep pumping money into this, I wouldn't either, though. It is disgusting. It's revolting. But if you keep feeding into it, what else are you to do as a company but continue to take that money? Like you said, we should be up to 7 by now. I mean, we literally should be up to 7 by now.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you keep buying the upgrades, the like you said, Boom said, I had 2 copies. I had to think about it. I was like, you know what? I did have it for the 360, and I remember buying it again for the freaking Xbox One.
You guys want to hear the most disgusting thing you've ever heard? Besides 155 million copies sold since 2013. Now, mind you, this update is from November 3rd of 2021. Grand Theft Auto 5 itself has made $6 billion.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah.
One
What
title.
company is going to say no to that?
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, well, look, I
I
just
can't be mad at it though.
stop buying their remakes, stop buying their shark.
But that's the problem. People are gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
For some
Yeah.
reason, it is like bees to nectar. You put anything GTA on it, people are just gonna buy it. My son bugs me for it, and I'm like, no, dude, we don't you want 6? And he's like, no, I want to play this now. Like, it's the same freaking game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like pretty much the last couple of years, it hasn't dropped pretty much out of the top 5 in sales in
No,
the
it
UK.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous
Or
how
the
well
US
this
top
game
10.
sells. Yeah, it's just amazing. The longevity of this game, and look, it's a great game. But come on, I mean, enough is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. Don't look if you're in the chat. Don't buy this game. Don't give me your money. I want a 6. I want a 6. Give me a 6. Now,
That's gonna happen though.
speaking of new games, PlayStation had a state of play, and look, my opinion on this is it was when I really looked at it, and we really looked at it earlier in the week, is actually pretty underwhelming. They did a good job of kind of trying to pull the wool over your eyes, but when you really look at it, there wasn't much there that was exclusive. That was exciting for me personally. I do own a PS5. I do play games on a PS5 when they release some. I will play them there. But they've got they got Ghosts. That's a Microsoft exclusive. Forspoken, I believe, is a timed exclusive. They showed. And Valkyrie Elysium and Gigabash, which is an indie game, and Valkyrie is probably a AA game, but that didn't look too bad, and I was pretty excited for that. But other than that, everything they showed was third-party games, mostly Square. It seems like Square's really propping up PlayStation at the moment, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier in the year when the acquisitions were all happening. That PlayStation, a lot of people are saying that PlayStation should look at buying Square, but they don't need to look at buying Square. Square already works so
Why
well
buy
in
the
concert.
farm when you can get the milk for free?
Exactly, they work in concert with Square like constantly. So why would you? Exactly. It's great for Square and it's great for PlayStation, but at the moment it doesn't look like PlayStation has much coming in the back end of 2022. Concerning Boom, or not worried? You think they'll?
Well, you know what? What's interesting, you mentioned Forspoken, and I was just this information was just brought to my attention. I bet you guys did not know this, but when you go to the Windows Store, do you know that when Forspoken comes out, you're gonna get it on PC and on PlayStation day and date, both of those platforms. Do you know that when you play Forspoken, you're gonna unlock Xbox achievements?
Yeah, wow. Well, that tells you, doesn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
That
So
is insane.
it was money had it at the last minute. Look, here's the thing. I saw the show. I didn't watch it live. I literally watched it on a replay. I thought it's like a 5 out of 10. You know what got me the most excited? I'm going to be able to play Turtles in Time. That's all I pretty much care about. The fact that I'm getting a Ninja Turtles collection right before the new one, which, by the way, looks dope. I can't wait for that. I thought it was very underwhelming. And look, to be honest with you, I know it's not part of the topics and everything. We talked about it this morning on Breakfast at Boom. I thought it was poor timing, coming off of the 10 women that have come forward for sexual misconduct and discrimination accusations at SIE PlayStation. I thought it was bad timing. I thought it was, to me, it seemed like they were doing it to kind of move people's attention from what was going on to that. And it was a very underwhelming show. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I know Dustin Legary wound up putting out an informational tweet almost like an hour after the show. Hey, I've been getting a lot of questions. What's exclusive? And there was hardly any exclusives there. Everything was multi-plat. Listen, Sony is kind of in the boat like Microsoft. Everyone keeps suggesting, oh yeah, no, God of War, it's this December for sure. Folks, I'm telling you, I don't think so.
No.
Because
No.
I said the same thing, Boom.
Look what just happened to Horizon. It got curb stomped. It came out a week before Elden Ring, which has been on the screen, and Elden Ring is still trending. What hurt for Horizon, and I bought it. I'm a Horizon stan. I love Aloy. But the game is littered with bugs. I only got 8 hours into it and I couldn't play it anymore. I went to Elden Ring and I'm glad that I did, to be honest with you. And this is the same repeat. This is what happened in 2017 with Breath of the Wild and Horizon 1. I'm gonna be honest with you. Starfield, regardless of however it turns out, is going to steal the show anytime it's discussed. I think that if God of War, as great as it potentially is going to be, Ragnarok is supposed to be incredible. It's supposed to be an extension of the first one, and I love the first one.
Same.
It would get curb stomped by this game. It is going to get curb stomped by Starfield. If I'm Sony and I'm looking at what just happened to Horizon, guys, did you know that 80% of sales dropped for Horizon the week after Elden Ring released? 80%.
Insane.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Dang. That's an insane drop.
How do they not put out something at the end of the year at that Christmas period? I know typically Sony don't like doing that, but
Right.
come on, they need to compete. They need to put something. Look, there's not going to be a Call of Duty this year, or is that next year? No, I think it's next year.
No,
but
no,
regardless,
it's 23, I think it is.
yeah. But regardless, Sony needs something first party to compete with might of Starfield. With I think I'm not sure when Breath of the Wild's coming out. I don't really follow Nintendo that much, but I think that's coming out this year as well.
Next year, guys.
Yeah, it's not till next year as well. Look, yeah, I still think they need something. They need something to promote Christmas sales for the PS5. They can't let Microsoft have all the attention like they did last Christmas. They outsold them not only because they had more stock, but because they had Halo and Forza back to back. They can't allow that to happen again, and God of War has that name recognition, whereas Starfield doesn't. The casuals will see that IP and they won't know that it's the first Bethesda game in 25 years. We do because we're in the industries, but the casuals won't. And if Mum and Pop goes to the store and sees God of War, which has a big name and with on the PlayStation, and they see Starfield with the Xbox, they're going to be like, oh, never heard of this Starfield, heard of God of War, so more likely chance to pick up that console. They need to compete.
I think you make a good point there, but I'm going to go with Boom on this, man. I think that the casuals follow the hardcores, and they hear about what's going on more from us than they do from any of the marketing that the game companies put out. And it's almost certain at this point, with the massive splash that Starfield has made, and even a lot of the casuals will watch E3 as well. So I'm sure they know of Starfield, and if I'm Sony, I agree with Boom. I don't want to put anything up against Starfield, and not to mention we had Rose on the show. I think it's quite a few shows back, but she has a friend within Santa Monica, and from what we heard, there was some development issues going on with God of War. I don't think you see God of War until maybe
March of 23, maybe.
Yeah, March of 23. I don't think they're going to bring it any earlier than that.
The actor that played Kratos.
Sorry, mate. You go, mate.
I'm sorry. The actor that played Kratos, if you guys didn't know, he had 3 surgeries.
Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's still recovering now. Yes, he's recovered from the surgeries, but that held up all of the motion capture and all of the voice work. You know, he had stuff done on his shoulder, his knee, and I believe it was his back.
Mm-hmm.
And the studio also helped get pushed out Horizon Forbidden West, and so
That's
a lot
correct.
of them were moved over to help that team. And I know the reverse is happening now, but you're gonna have to bring all those people up to speed, and who knows how much that delayed the game. So yeah, look, I mean, I want to see God of War. I want to see Sony compete this Christmas, but I can't see it coming out either.
Umbra.
Well, here's my thing on it. I do agree with Boom, there, I do agree with you, Risk and Jedi. I think it'll be delayed simply not only from what we heard from Rose from the inside information, but it seemed, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the energy behind it, but it just doesn't seem like. And I know Sony typically just doesn't have holiday releases like that either. By the way, just to throw it out there, they don't typically have, I guess, what would be quarter. I don't know what quarter that would be for Sony. I know Microsoft's.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they don't typically have those. Yeah, they don't typically have that. So I don't think that for that reason alone, for that, also because of, like Boom pointed out, the injuries. I forgot his name, but the gentleman who's playing Kratos right now, the things he suffered, I think, may have put a delay on the game, and that's not to blame him or anything like that. I mean, life happens, but just to say, I think that
him for having surgery. I mean, what are you doing, mate? You have to do the motion capture.
Fine. Watch your tone, boy. But yeah, you know. Mind my
man with 1,000 voices. He's the Master Chief for Kratos. Love it, Umbra. Love it, mate.
Absolutely. You know, I feel for that reason it might be delayed on a prospect of the state of play. I had a middling feel for it too. It didn't wow me. I fell asleep at first and I had to watch it later. So when I watched it, I was like, okay. The Exo Primal looked interesting. I thought it was going to be Dino Crisis. Capcom, why are you playing with us like this?
Brother. Broke our hearts.
Right. Showed us the red head and everything. Boom. I'm like, that's okay. Here we go. Nope. So that, I mean, it does look interesting though, I will say, but I don't know the longevity of that game either.
Anthem 2?
I don't have much confidence in it.
It looked very much like an Anthem with dinosaurs to me.
Yeah.
It was the first thing I thought. I was like, oh.
But then, you know, everything else, I think the Trek to Yomi is going to be good. And by the way, if you all don't know, that comes day and date to Game Pass. So, that's one. And like Boone pointed out, too, most of the games that looked anywhere interesting were multiplat. Just being real. I mean, I know that they're getting Ascension for what was that? The DLC add-on with the co-op
for Eternal, the co-op. Yep.
Right.
That looked good.
So that's cool.
That looked good. I haven't played that. I haven't played Returnal, but that might be something that brings me into Returnal. But most of my mates are over on Xbox, so I don't know who I'll play it with.
That's the problem. See, like me, like you, and like Boom, I believe all of us here, we typically use the PS5 just for its exclusives, and everything else exclusive and
single-player exclusives
on
as
Xbox.
well. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I tell people, like, yeah, you can find me on PlayStation, but you'll never play with me because I'm only playing their single party games.
And we struggle to play with you on Xbox anyway, mate. You're always hiding.
Listen, Elden Ring has captured me so much. I'm like, I don't want to be disturbed. I'm like, no.
Oh, we got Harriet.
Like,
we got Harriet 2 Chains in the chat.
In the chat, mate. G'day,
Welcome.
Harriet.
I agree, Johnny. But yeah, he was with us on one of these sessions too. I believe some weeks back he was in a Halo session with us. So yeah, but yeah, just to say the state of play, I thought it was okay. It didn't wow me. It was funny though seeing the Sony fanboys who said, "Oh, we're gonna expect Silent Hill. We're expecting." My sources tell me they're always wrong. It's always funny to see their tweets. Oh, we're expecting this. My insiders tell me this. My insider source. Right. Resident Evil 4 will be exclusive. They're coming to first quarter 23 for PlayStation. They always just make up stuff.
Metal Gear Solid.
It's crazy.
Metal Gear's coming.
Right. Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, it's always something. But other than Exo Primal, like Boom said, I think the Turtles collection, the Cowabunga collection with 13 titles, that's, yeah, absolutely. I'll be getting that. Nostalgia overdrive right there, right?
And hopefully that one's co-op, because I don't know if you guys know, the new one coming is not online co-op. So if you want to co-op that game, I believe you have to do it living room. Which that sucks. I was really disappointed about that. I don't know why they're running it like that, but who doesn't want to play Turtles with their mate?
Yep. But other than that, it didn't really wow me. And like I also saw that tweet, by the way, Boom, from Destin so I was like, oh, okay. So we're getting pretty much everything. JoJo's Bizarre game, the Gundam game, which underwhelmed me, by the way, but Okay, I spoke
That
with
looked like a
someone.
PS3 game. It looked terrible.
Said
Yes,
the same.
yes,
I
it
said the
did.
same. I spoke with someone in the space about it. And they were like, "Oh, it looks great to me. I love it." I'm like,
No.
"Nah, sorry." But to each their own. But yeah, didn't do anything for me. I don't know. It just wasn't. I don't know. I don't want to rain on anyone's parade because I know it's a lot of PlayStation fans that were like, "Oh, I loved it," so it's whatever. I don't want to rain on the parade. But for me, if I had to be honest, it didn't wow me. If it was Microsoft, I still would have said the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing there. When Microsoft has a bad showing, I'm always going to say, look, that wasn't great. And when PlayStation has a bad showing, you better believe I'm always going to say that's not great. And we do call out Microsoft where they need to be called out on this show. And someone that we regularly call out, and we're going to move to the next topic. Before we do, if you just joined the show, this is Xbox Infinite. Please hit that like if you're enjoying the show, subscribe if you're new here, and share it out amongst your friends. Let's bring some more people in the chat. Have a great time. It's you guys that power the show. We've been talking about this since this game released, and I think even before. I think from day one, we have not stopped talking about Halo, and every week they have given us something to talk about. This is unbelievable. Another developer has left, this time the multiplayer lead, left 343. He didn't really cite much. He did say it was of his own choosing. And look, the Season 2 content dropped last week whilst we were having the show. And we did kind of touch on that. It was pretty sparse. It is sparse. It's not what we expected. Like we said last week, Halo 5 had 8 new maps at the same time as we're only getting 2. And we know they've got more modes, and they're not putting them out. They're using for timed events. We've played these timed events. Stick these things into the game list so that we can choose what we want to play. What's going on over there? It's ridiculous. And again, I'm going to point to Bonnie Ross. The leadership over there something needs to change. Yeah. Something needs to be moved. Look, I know Mav was on the show last week, and he disagreed and looking forward to the future that we wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be talking about how great a game Halo is. And yes, it is a great game, but it's sparse on content. Boom. Do you think that Bonnie Ross is probably responsible?
Look, I had a chance to meet Bonnie Ross in E3 2019. She is
lovely,
very witty, very smart, very passionate about Xbox, about more specifically Halo. She loves the brand. She talks it up every chance she gets. Here's where I come into the conversation. At what point does management failure get called on? We've heard from numerous people, from numerous devs that have come and gone, that Halo Infinite's development was considered development hell, right? It was a lot going on. They switched engines midway from what we understand. And listen, what 343 was able to do, that of course includes Bonnie Ross, I gave Halo Infinite a 10 out of 10. Is it a perfect game? No, not by a long shot. But they delivered on both multiplayer and single player. I loved both equally. I got halfway through the battle pass before, you got to move on to play other games. I don't play multiplayer games like that. Even Halo, as great as it is, I got to level 52 and I'm like, you know what, I'm okay, right? Seeing what came out in regards to the big announcement that was supposed to be for Season 2, it was underwhelming because, like you said, when you compare the maps that Halo 5 got at the same time as opposed to Halo Infinite, people are going to be disappointed. There's only one big team battle map. If you're a big team battle person, you're like, okay, this is great. It's my favorite mode, but we only have 2 maps? Like, what happened? So you got to ask yourself, guys, are there management issues at 343 Industries? I can't say for sure. I'm not there in the office, but you just have to go with what content is made available. And again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Listen, I know that they all work hard and they all have a passion for Halo, but seeing the lead of the multiplayer leave right after, because the announcement for both came on the same day, which is very auspicious, right? You had the announcement of the content, and then he announces he's leaving. Man, that's not a good look, guys. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, I agree. Very
100%.
auspicious timing, and look, we've heard from the industry that it's very easy for developers to get jobs at the moment. Everybody's headhunting, and the amount of the level of scrutiny that Halo's getting at the moment. Maybe Andrew Witz, who is the lead multiplayer designer at 343, left because he wanted to move on to somewhere where he wasn't, going to be under so much pressure to perform, where he can, spread his wings more creatively and not get so much backlash from the community. But in saying that, it's not a good look. This far out of launch, no co-op yet. Halo doesn't have co-op. I know Gaz was in the chat earlier. He said delay Halo because it didn't have co-op. I know a lot of people didn't like that take. I agreed with him. I think Halo is synonymous with co-op, and I think it needed to be there at launch. I think the fact that we're only getting 2 maps is a disgrace, quite frankly, and it's not what I would call a season for a live service game. I think that it needs a lot more than that. I think it could have been fixed if Forge was working, but Forge isn't there, so the community can't make games. Even custom games isn't working correctly. Even that would have been able to bring the community, pull the community along until they were able to make new maps. We've had all these data miners leaking that there's going to be 5 maps and all this other stuff. None of it has come to fruition. Even the latest thing that they've got going at the moment, the tactical ops thing, it's the first time they haven't released a trailer for it. They haven't even really marketed it. So I don't know what's going on at 343. But if you ask me, it all comes down to management. Yes, I understand Bonnie Ross, very passionate, loves Halo, loves Microsoft. But I'm sick of people under her getting the blame for her failures. And unfortunately, I think it's time for her to move on. What do you think, Umbra? I know that you dropped this information on us last podcast because it came out mid-podcast, and that was a great pickup by you, but we've had a little bit more time to digest it now. So what do you think about what's going on at 343 and the Season 2 drop of Halo?
Yeah, the initial reaction was yay, right? Happy, and I felt like boom too. I didn't give Halo Infinite a 10 out of 10 in my personal review, but I gave it a 9 out of 10 for sure. And I still think it earns that because the campaign is great, genuinely fun to play. The gameplay mechanics are solid, everything like that, right? And even the multiplayer is great. They did a good job overall when it comes to that. The core is there. The problem, however, as we all I think agreed, everyone even, and that's it's bad when most Halo fans agree on something. And that's the unfortunate part, and because it happens to be on something that's negative. The game, for them to have only 2 maps and 3 modes after all this time and these delays and a year delay before that, it's just not a positive outlook. And then all these people departing, they can try to spin it however they want, but yeah, in the head of the multiplayer team leaving like that, it's like one hit after the other. And as we've said, and as Boom just pointed out a second ago, it's got to be a management issue. There's no other way about it. And to Bunny Ross, I like her too. But I think when you have these types of issues like this continuously, it points to the head of whatever, right? You have to go to the head. And unfortunately, that's Bunny Ross. And so I'm agreeing. I'm in agreement. I think we're all in agreement. There needs to be some type of shift there at 343.
There's definitely something going on behind the scenes here that we can assume. It's fairly obvious that there's definitely still issues behind the scenes. I don't know. Joe Staten's kind of stepped in and righted the ship. I think though he might also be cleaning house while he's back there.
Sorry, Harriet just said in the chat, Dr. Pony would like to remind you, Xbox, that Xbox has no games and Halo is trash and Horizon Forbidden West launched with co-op and has 20 maps. Oh wait, damn it, man. I'm a doctor, not a gamer.
I tried not to laugh out loud when I read that. I really did.
Yeah, I got that up on the screen now. Yeah, I was just reading that as you shouted it out. That was something else. Look, we weren't going to talk about that, but that's something else. Is honest to God, I mean, who thinks it's a good idea to go into an OR as an anesthesiologist and film not only the procedure, but to film docs, effectively docs your patient and yourself? Oh, my God. How do you get...
all the way around it. It's buffoonery.
How do we get to this point in console war rubbish where you are hurting someone who is not involved, and not only hurting someone who's not involved, hurting yourself? That guy had a podcast that shut down. I know he had 400 and something subscribers. I did occasionally watch his podcast and for a giggle.
Podcast.
Yeah, he had a podcast.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and it went down from 400 subscribers. He's now got 38.
Wow.
And he's had to delete his Twitter account. He's had to delete his Twitter account, and he's also been fired. They've also sacked him.
Oh, he got fired too?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
That's
Ruined his career in his life over something like that.
He'll get another
That's
job.
not
He's
real.
a doctor in India. There's so many.
No,
hospitals
he's
that
an
need doctors in
anesthesiologist,
India.
but still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anesthesiologist. But regardless, he'll get another job. But for goodness sakes, there is a time and a place.
Yeah.
And putting a patient under anesthesia is not the time for console warring.
What the? Yeah, look, we won't talk on that too much. We'll jump back to 343 and what we think the issues are there. Bushido, I haven't had your take. What do you think? Do you think that Bonnie Ross is look, whether it's, to be honest, whether it's her fault or not, she leads that studio, and as a studio lead, in my opinion, she hasn't done a job.
Before I get into that, whose gameplay is this on screen?
No, this is me.
Yeah, that's just
Oh, that's you. Oh, okay.
Terrible.
You're not that good at this game, I see.
Ah.
Okay. Keep playing.
Yeah, don't put that on me.
Keep playing. You'll get there. You get good. One thing we had a space before, and we had a couple developers on at the same time, and we had Alex on our podcast a few weeks ago, and I'm a person who likes to ask a lot of questions. I'm very literal anyway when it comes to comments that people make, and I need exact explanations on certain things. Because one thing I don't like to do is to assume things. As old as I am, I think I should be past assuming something without information. When it comes to, let's first talk about the developer leaving. Alex doesn't even work for Ubisoft anymore. Alex works for Microsoft, one of the divisions of
Arcane.
Activision. Yeah, and so he was saying that, Arcane, right.
Yeah.
So he was saying that a lot of the industry now, he said they're shorthanded. And now when guys' contracts are up, they're going different places. They're offering them more money. And I was like, wow, okay, that's a good reason to go to another job. And so he said that it's overblown. This is before this announcement too. He says overblown because of the fact that we have turnover constantly. He said it's only when you get the big studios and big positions that people make news of it or whatever the case may be. Because if you look at it, last week, Microsoft hired somebody from Sony Santa Monica just recently. So when it comes to the turnover thing, that's just part of the industry. So that, to me, doesn't say too much about Bonnie Ross. But what concerns me is, and the development hell thing, he said that happens a lot more than we even know. He said it happens a lot. He said you just don't know how many games that they had to work on, that all this stuff is thrown on them, and by people who don't even do the writing or do the work on the game. It'll be people over there, the management over their head, and they said, we went all listen to the game. And they're like, are we going to, wait, you went what again? No, that's not possible. And they'll argue with them about it, and they still try to push them to still do it. And he said their job is to push back and say, no, we can't do this. But at the same time, that was so surprised to hear also. He said they had that with a few games, even with Ubisoft. But they turn out games so fast you wouldn't really notice it. But that's another thing. The Bunny Rocks thing, I will say this. When it comes to a football team or a basketball team or soccer team, football inside your world you guys live in over in Britterland or what is it? Britterland?
AFL,
Australia
mate.
land.
Aussie rules football. Yeah.
So they if a guy continues to get you
Real
just
football.
to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what you mean, real football.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm an American spoiler right here. Don't do that.
I don't know how you call a game where you throw the ball. Football.
Hey, listen.
Where there's
It's my
one
time right now. We're not gonna. We should be calling it handball. We should. When I look at it, if a manager isn't getting the team over the hump, you do need to make a change, and it might be better for her to move on to something else or another position. But I think at this point, when it comes to Halo, don't get me wrong. Listen, I gave Halo a 9 myself. The campaign is fantastic. The open world aspect of the game is fantastic. It was disappointing not to have co-op. I usually don't care about co-op, but the minute I stepped out in that open world, I was like, man, it's co-op. I can absolutely see, this game really being like a formula for co-op. So, me personally, even though the game came out and the game is well, how many times do I have to continue to go through these types of situations before I make a change or before it goes bad?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the pandemic and everything, but you do sometimes have to make a change to get better, and I don't see them getting any better. Besides, I give them credit for this year for the new game, but I'm not one for blaming anybody either. We're not knowing everything, but at the same time, just from the outside looking in, I think it might be time for a change.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Absolutely. We're gonna have to move to the next topic. Boom. You've been with us for the show, but you are got to be out the next 10 minutes. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah. I can go another 10-15 minutes, and then I got to bounce.
Copy that. We've only got one more topic to cover, really, anyway. And we were talking about new consoles, and then we'll move on to our new segment after we say goodbye to Boom, which is put this on your radar. That we'll be doing every week. We're trying to fit in every week. Last week we had a bit of an emergency, so we didn't do it. If you're just joining us, it's Xbox Infinite. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button. If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button so you can catch us when we go live at 7 p.m. EST time on Fridays for your Americans and 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for Australians. There's rumours of a new Xbox console in development, and everyone's gotten into a bit of a fritter. I think it was... I can't remember the name of the guy who discovered he was digging in some files and he found a product, Xbox Keystone, which has sent the community into a bit of an uproar about possibly a new Xbox console coming in. I am of a completely different opinion than I am about PlayStation. I don't think Xbox needs a new console. I don't think they're working on a new Xbox Series XX or whatever you want to call it. I think this is what we've been talking about, what we've been seeing Phil talk about, a Fire Stick, some sort of software that could bring Xbox to your average consumer, your casual consumer, where they can just sit down with a controller, plug in a USB stick or a HDMI stick, and hit play and start playing these games across the cloud, because we know that that's Microsoft's future, what they're looking towards. Boom. Do you think we're getting a new console?
No, I don't. Selfishly, I would love it to be an actual handheld. Miles Dompierre sat down with me this past Tuesday, and we both want a traditional piece of hardware for an Xbox console. For me, I don't like. I love what xCloud stands for, but it's not the way I like playing games. I want a traditional piece of hardware, and I'd love a handheld. But
that would be amazing.
When you look at
compared to the Steam Deck.
Yeah, it'd be great. But look, the reality is that Microsoft is moving into a position where sub count for Game Pass is the goal. How do you get the non-gamers, the ultimate casuals, to go out and potentially get involved in Xbox? The grandmas, the aunts, the uncles, the moms and pops, right? How do you do that? Well, that's easy. You drop a $99 controller and Fire Stick device. And I say 100 because I'm just thinking, well, why not 100? It could be $70. It could be $80, right? You put that on the shelves at your Walmart, at your Best Buy, at your GameStops. That is an impulse buy automatically. And what is the stick going to really cost Microsoft to make? What? $4, right? The controller is going to be more expensive than what the stick is going to be. So they package this nice looking package and the Xbox, and I don't know what they're going to call it. You know, Xbox Y, the Xbox V, the Xbox whatever. But what it does is it makes people want to get involved, and how they get involved is incredibly important, because what you'll do is with this new device, this rumored device, they package in Xbox Game Pass for 3 months. You get a 3-month card, you get the controller, you get the little stick, you plug it into your TV, you bring it home, and you're going. And listen, this is an era, gentlemen, that the subscription thing is not as foreign as we think it is. Everyone understands how to get Hulu and Netflix and pick your favorite service. All of these older folks, and that we consider to be the normies, right? The casuals. They all have subscriptions to all of these things. So to see this come out would not surprise me in the least, and I think that it will sell like gangbusters, man. And it's just I think that if they do release it, it's brilliant.
It'll be the shift in the industry, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we were already meant to get Samsung TVs that were going to have Game Pass app already built
LG
into it.
and LG also.
Yeah,
they made a deal with
exactly.
LG and Samsung.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so this just allows every TV, just by plugging something in, to be able to access xCloud, which is absolutely brilliant. Sorry, I think it was way too optimized. So sorry, the name just went off screen. Just said that Skyrim grandma had a stroke. Yeah, that's extremely sad news, but she will live on forever within that game, which is, I think, a beautiful tribute to her. I know she hasn't passed, but thoughts and prayers with her family.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. That's terrible news. Yeah, look, I think this will be the thing that shifts the industry from counting console sales to counting subscriptions. I mean, we are there now, but unfortunately, there's detractors within the industry that still count console sales as their wins, and I don't think that's personally how you're going to judge success of a gaming company going forward. But before we do move on to Umbra and Bushido and get your takes, look, we'll say goodbye to Mr. Boomstick. Thank you for coming on the show. You've been amazing. Your takes are absolutely fantastic. You're on point. You're all over it. Just let everyone know where they can find you, what you're up to, and what you'll be doing in the future.
Well, listen, gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. Super appreciate the invite. Loved hung out with you guys tonight. Everyone had incredible takes. What a great way to finish off a Friday evening. It was, like I said, great takes from everyone. If you want to reach out to me, Mr. Boomstick XL on Twitter, and my YouTube channel that in the beginning of the year hit 10,000 subscribers. We're now at 10.3, which is amazing. It's double gaming. Thank you guys so much. 4 live shows a week. Primetime Gaming Monday evenings at 7 p.m. The Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. X-Vlog Live is on Thursdays at 12 p.m. and Breakfast with Boom on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. We have incredible panels, incredible guests, and this week on X-Vlog Live, I have King David from the Iron Lord podcast joining me to sit down for one-on-one to talk about Xbox, the future, and the industry and how they're changing it and really making a big difference in all gamers, regardless of what platform But thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your show. Thank you again, and everyone have an awesome night and a great weekend.
Thank you once again for
so
coming.
much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care.
Later, mate.
So easy. So we'll move to Umbra and just get your take on what you think is going on with this new Keystone that's been uncovered.
I see this red wolf of Radagon giving you issues.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, he
like
needed
co-op,
a co-op,
but
but
he
co-op with most bosses. Like, he actually doesn't know how to play the game. He thinks
I
he
have
does.
not co-opted
But he
most
basically
bosses.
co-ops
No, I haven't. I haven't co-opted
I'm
most.
like,
That's
boy,
absolute
risk it
rubbish.
all. That wolf is just not having. I give it him a easy time. Yeah, I think the guys kind of answered it plain and simple. I think it's alluding to the Fire Stick kind of situation for them, and the built-in Game Pass, inside of these smart TVs. It makes the most sense. I would absolutely love it for them to have a dedicated handheld too. That would be dope if they did. But I think with the advent of the Steam Deck, that pretty much dashed any hope of that.
Yeah,
Personally.
yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think it's a needed thing. That'd be great. The other rumor was that it could possibly be VR, which we know that Microsoft and Phil himself personally has addressed and said it's just not something that he would be interested in looking into yet. He did hint that maybe in future iterations of the consoles that might become a thing, but at this minute, he didn't think so. Mr. Bushido, do you think with the PSVR 2 coming in that maybe Phil has rethought his strategy and this could be the Xbox's answer to PSVR 2?
Welcome, the gladiator.
I see him down there trying to sow seeds of dissent.
He's some pretty good back there, man. I never known him to lie. Jimmy, what's going on, man?
Yeah, thank you so much, chat, man. You guys make the show. Timmy, Doovie, Grey Monad, you guys are here every week. Ripen stuff, AU. Absolutely appreciate and love you guys, man. Thank you so much. If you want to ask a question,
Gladiator, that's the first time I ever heard somebody say that about me.
just type a question in the chat. We don't have super chat yet, so that's the best way you can actually get in contact with us. And Doovie, I did see your question, but we were pretty much answering it at the same time with the God of War coming out in this year or next. So I did see that, mate. Everyone else, just type in question, please.
Yeah. Look, I posted that up on the screen.
Yeah, thank you all for coming through as always.
Yeah. So Keystone.
I think that when it comes to the handheld thing and the VR thing, I don't know. I just don't think Microsoft is ready for that yet. I would prefer them to, just to be preference-wise, I would prefer them to get AAA games straight first and then worry about VR down the line. But if they, it's always a different department that does it. It's not like it takes away from other manpower. But I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But the help is more likely is Umbra's fault. Don't get our voices mixed up. Mine's more milky, so
Shit.
This show fell off. Oh man.
Here we go. We're back, boys. We're back.
Yeah, sorry guys,
Hey,
we had a bit of a drop out there.
You guys hear anything on your you seen that?
Oh well.
No sooner did the gladiator got here, the hate from him, his inner hate.
I was getting ready to say maybe
What's up,
kicking
man?
this big, okay.
He says L plus ratio.
Just in case you didn't hear me, welcome to Panda, and I also wanted to shout out the Xbox International crew who are always here supporting us. Silent Cypher, Mr. Joanna Dark, love you boys, mate. Thank you so much for being here each and every week.
Yeah, we're back.
Appreciate
We're back,
you guys.
Channy. We're back. My bad. For some reason, the program just jammed and then dropped. That does happen. I'm using OBS, so it's never happened before. But
Gladiator.
I'll blame Gladiator. Yeah, it's definitely his fault. 110%. So Bushido, you were saying, I think regarding a handheld that you don't think that's the what we're getting.
No, I wish it was because I do. I mean, I like the idea that the Steam Deck could be the de facto, especially with Gabe and Microsoft saying that hey, would you want to make it after this? And like, yeah, and I'm happy to see that because I've been trying to figure out what kind of device could I get to use like that, on a mobile side. Don't get me wrong, you can still use your phone, but to have something dedicated for it, I'd actually would like that. Because I have some of the peripherals for Game Pass, the ones you put on the sides of the phone, and use and a controller on the right and left. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they're going to invest in that. The VR thing, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But as far as that's concerned, I think the de facto is going to be a Steam Deck. Anybody hear about their Steam Deck yet? That's all my dash too. Anybody get any information on theirs?
Yeah, no. Look, I was not keen on the Steam Deck, but you've got one coming in, Umbra, haven't you?
See, look at him. He's not even paying attention.
Yeah, I have one coming too. I was listening, but I had myself muted. Yeah, it's the Gladiator's fault. I blame him. But yeah, I have mine reserved as well. I haven't heard any news on it though, or at least I haven't been paying attention. I think Elden Ring has just dominated everything with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even people I'm talking to like,
hey, first quarter?
Yeah, I think I was
first quarter, Umbra?
I think I was the second. I missed the first part.
Okay.
That's the bit. Yeah. I overslept and woke up and was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Sorry, for the late response. It's Elden Ring. It's Elden Rock. Yeah. But, yeah. No, I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm pretty sure they're on schedule and everything like that. I'm excited for it still. And like I said, it's part of the reason why I don't believe we'll have a dedicated Xbox handheld is because they're going to integrate Game Pass into that.
Mm-hmm. I think yeah. Well, you can already get Game Pass on the Steam Deck. We know that for sure. Oh, okay. Well, look, we'll move on to our last segment for the show.
I just wanted to say before we move on that I don't mind how Xbox does it through third party. I don't mind that, like, if they are going to get a virtual reality headset, I think that they will go third party. They'll allow Oculus or HTC or someone else to actually put it out. I don't mind that they're promoting the Steam Deck and promoting it as your Game Pass machine. You can put Windows onto it. So I don't actually mind that. I prefer Microsoft to be focusing on console and gaming side of things. I really like how they do that, and I think that's the way they should continue. But yeah, sorry mate, Risk, you go mate.
Nah, look, absolutely. I was just going to put a bit of a wrap on the show, but before we do go, we have our segment that we're going to be doing each week where we put a game in the spotlight. It's called Put This On Your Radar. Pete's picked this one out. We were supposed to do it last week, but I had a bit of an emergency, and from that emergency I've been given the flu, so I've had a bit of a rough show this show. I hope my voice doesn't sound too scratchy. But this week's game is Somerville. It's a game that reportedly has no traditional game loop, as the developer aims for a non-repetitive experience, and that's a pretty massive undertaking, I think, for a game. A non-repetitive game loop. I can't think of a game that doesn't have a repetitive game loop. I'll throw this to you, Pete, because you're pretty interested in this game.
Yeah, look, this game showed up at E3 and it caught my eye immediately. This game looks amazing. It's played from a third-person perspective, similar to Limbo and Inside. The gameplay's coming up on the screen now, and I just love the art style. I love how they said that it's not going to have a repetitive game loop. It's going to be innovative. And I love these smaller indie titles coming to Xbox, and look, I hope they keep coming. The more diversity we have in the industry, the better. And I just think Game Pass lends itself to these type of games. I don't know if I would have bought this game if it wasn't on Game Pass, but because it's coming to Game Pass, I'll be playing it day one. Looks amazing, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I'll definitely be giving this a crack. But do you know much about Somerville? Have a look into it.
Sorry, I'm currently getting slayed by Margot, the Omen King.
Wow, couldn't even pull yourself from Elden Ring for the podcast. Wow.
I'm like, we're at the camp anyway. Let me go ahead and fight this guy. I haven't looked much into it, but I am incredibly excited for it. I know, speaking of games like that, we have some good games releasing next week. Tunic releases next week, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. We got Tunic coming.
Looks like another Zelda game.
Yeah, it does.
I'm happy with that.
I was just trying to look up what we do have coming next week. But yeah, Tunic's coming out next week. I had a chance to play the demo of that, and that was pretty good. But Somerville, Bushido, have you seen much about that? It looks like a pretty interesting a little game.
You know what? I've learned from Game Pass. I know people like to make certain statements about Game Pass. One thing I will give Game Pass, it has taught me that a lot more of the indie games are way better than I had assumed, and to give more games a chance as opposed to passing on because you look at a game and say it doesn't look that good, but you play it and come to find out it's better than. I played a few indie games this year, and they were actually really good. And so I would I love the fact that Game Pass is going really hard on the indie games. I think the one you just showed, Somerville, that looks really good. That reminds me of like Flashback and some of the old Sega games that we used to play.
Yeah, I've just got it up on the screen here. It says the story will focus on individual members of a family who try to survive in a hostile world after an alien invasion by moving from shelter to shelter. Somerville's primary source of inspiration is Eric Shaddy's Another World, a classic game that was praised for its innovative use of cinematic effects. However, Jumpship's greatest effort was to create a truly unique script that won't borrow elements from other notable works. So yeah, it sounds like they're putting a lot of effort into this, and they've got some pretty good inspiration for this game. I'm very keen. I'm kind of glad.
On top of that risk, I think also because I think the game had caught a lot of eyes. So if they get that much, I think attention, they're probably going to get a bigger budget from whoever anyway. Microsoft might give them a little something, to help.
8-year development cycle for this game as well.
It's 8-year development?
8-year development cycle, yeah. And it's they said that it's progressed a lot and changed a lot through those 8 years. Yeah, I love that these little smaller games are getting promoted by Microsoft. I mean, this was front and center at the E3 show for Microsoft. And so, yeah, I love that. And I cannot wait for the ID and Xbox show that's coming up. I know that the Twitch streaming way isn't my favorite way of doing it. They think they just pushed the show for too long. It goes for 3-4 hours when it really should go for half an hour. But like you said, Umbra, Tunic's coming very soon. I don't think Tunic's going to get me off Elden Ring anytime soon. But hey, it'll be in Game Pass waiting for me when I'm finished.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, look, that's it's pretty much a wrap for the show. Look, if you guys are still in the chat, still listening, thank you for coming along. You guys are, as I say all the time, what power the show. It's Timmy, Monad, even Gladiator came through this week. Neil B, Ray, Hargeet Chaney, Harriet 2 Chains we had, Mr. Too Opinionated, thank you for coming. Doovie, as always, Mr. Palpatine, always there supporting. Joanna Dark. All the guys from Xbox International. Snoozy,
Solid
love that you come through, mate.
Yep. Ripen Stuff AU.
Shizno Elite, Paul AFC, you guys gone mad, of course. He plays with us all the time. Lexi, Retro Nerd, all you guys, see Steph, all you guys who came through or are still here, thank you very much. If you are still here, hit the like, hit that subscribe if you haven't already, and share it out amongst people. Mr. Bushido, fantastic show, mate. Thank you for coming along, giving your takes. It's always great having you here. Let us know where we can find you, what you're up to, what you do.
Always enjoy it. I just don't like the fact that your show is on a half an hour after ours, because once I'm done my show, I gotta play yours all the way from the beginning. I really do enjoy listening. No cap, I really do love listening to you guys' show. I still think you guys, you had the conversation with me about getting rid of Umbra. That is a good idea, but right now I can't take his spot, so I guess you might as well hold on to the Lester Bushido version of me. So anyway, you'll catch me on Twitter. You catch me on Twitter, or you'll actually we have a podcast ourselves. I hate to do this during yours, but our podcast comes on 6:30 on Fridays, which is Doomsayer's Den. Like I said, I really would love it if you guys changed it so I could at least listen to your full show without replaying it. But besides that, that's really about it. I'm on Xbox Live, and I'm gonna finish some of these games, and that way I could get to Elden Ring, and I forgot about Horizon too. I got that sitting there. But either way, that's it.
Fantastic, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Yeah, you guys can still catch half an hour of Doomsayers before you cruise over to this podcast. JediKnightPete, as always, man. Thanks for holding down the show as you do. Tell us where we can find you, what you're up to, what you've been playing.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's pretty easy to find me. I'll be on Xbox playing Elden Ring until I finish that game, which probably won't be for a couple of months. So you can also find me on Twitter at JediKnightPete. Please feel free to come through to our Twitter and nominate a game that you want to see put this on your radar. We really want to promote that that part of the show. We really want the community's involvement in that part of the show. So yeah, please feel free to nominate a game. That would be great. Thank you so much to the community. Thank you so much to Bushido, having you back. It's been amazing, and always risk it. I know you've been a bit sick, mate. You've had the flu, but you always come through for us. And Umbra, the smooth tunes of Umbra, absolutely amazing, you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah.
Well, over to you, Umbra. Thanks for coming every week, man. You hold down the show as well. Where can we find you? What will you be up to? By the way, the results of that poll for before we go to Umbra was, is Halo 2 Season 2 underwhelming? The results were 75% yes and 25% no, with 330,000 votes. No, it was 16 votes.
Who voted no? Who voted no? What's wrong?
Everybody tuned in just to give their Halo opinions.
Halo stand in the chat. Umbra, yeah, where can we find you? What are you up to? What are you playing this week?
The thing is, you may not be able to find me because I'll be stuck in the Elden Ring. I think JediKnightPete recognized my pattern. He was like, let me send him an invite to this chat anyway. He knew that I was in there playing it on offline. But yeah, I'm sitting here, no life in this. I'm no life in this game. And like him, I'm probably going to be stuck on this thing for a good few weeks, if not a month. I will say this too. I appreciate you guys as always. Jedi, you as well, brother. Same reciprocal to you and to Risk as well. As always, it's great to be here and talk with you guys, and even the pregame shows when we be talking and get things settled. Appreciate you, Bushido, and I hate to give you the credit, but appreciate you coming through, I guess. The lesser version of my voice, appreciate you coming through, and boom too. I wanted to kind of give him a good send off, but I know he had to go. And everybody in the chat, I appreciate you all for coming through and holding us down as you always do. Even you, Gladiator, spreading the hate up in there, and the hate.
Even Gladiator. I got to catch up with Gladiator in a space. There's a couple of things we got to toe to toe about, sort out. But it's great that he came through the show. Always a champion. Always throwing those jabs in there. Thank you, everyone that came on the show, from the chat to the panel to the guests. You guys have been amazing. Another great show. Thank you for the week. And we will see you next week at 7 p.m. EST on Friday. Not Thursday. It's Friday for those people who turn up early.